Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you all for joining us. I'm very happy to have such wonderful young leaders gathered here today. I'm Nobue Mita, the representative of Boston Global Forum Japan, in short, BGF Japan. Nice to meet you all. I'm very happy to hold the first Young Leaders Network Conference in the best cherry blossom season. Please look at my jacket. It's a cherry blossom. BGF was established at the end of 2012 in Boston, aimed to discuss the global issues by the means of online conference, together with great intellectuals from around the world. Every year, we hold 4 conferences on one particular theme. The theme for 2013 was the issue of the labor in the developing countries. The theme for 2014 and 2015 is on the US-Japan-China relationship. The Japanese branch of BGF, BGF Japan, was established on March 21st of 2014. Last year, we were able to hold 6 conferences. My thought of BGF Japan, I'd like BGF Japan to pass important values onto the younger from the older generations. Today, we have an honorable guest from Boston. The chair of BGF, Governor Michael Dukakis. He was the former candidate of US President of Democratic Party. And he competed for the position of president with George Bush, the father. He was also the senator of the state of Massachusetts. Today, there is one happy topic from Boston. The name of the South Station, the major subway station of Boston, was renamed to Dukakis Transportation Center in last November. Please welcome him and his wife Kitty with a big applause. And today also have Mr. Nguyen Ao Tuan. He is a successful person in the IT industry in Vietnam, the fellow of Harvard Kennedy School, the founder of BGF. Please give him another applause. And today also have famous Professor Susan Ogden of Northeastern University. Please give her a big applause. And today, thank you for Mr. Fujisaki for the moderator, Mr. Kondo, Mr. Sasajima, and Mr. Yamamoto, and Mr. Tuan Nguyen from Vietnam, and Professor Dairokno of Meiji University. Thank you. Again, thank you all.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gosaku Dialogno, currently Dean of the School of Political Science and Economics, Meiji University. I'm very happy to hold this, international conference at this occasion. While I'm not beautiful as the, Mita is, I'm not the, cherry blossom, although I took, Michael Dukakis and the other member to Chidori Gafuchi to look at, cherry blossom today. Well, that was very beautiful. Well, I don't talk about anything, but as you know, China has been flexing muscles. Well, that's true. But at the same time, more than 20% of the trade depend on the China market. That's another reality. Well, if you look at the 4 countries, for instance, China, Korea, Japan, and the United States, of course. Well, we relied on each other. That we are no longer living in an isolated world, as you know. So all the discussion will be left to the participants. I would say one thing. When I visited the Northeastern University about 23 years ago as a visiting scholar, I took my little kids, 3 years old, right? He wear T-shirts with the Duke because I was also a visiting scholar at the Duke University. And then I visited his office with my son wearing the Duke T-shirts. And then he said, "Oh my God, you are a son of mine? I've never seen you," right? Well, so that's the beginning of the relationship with the Michael Dukakis. So I hope that you young leaders will come up with creative, constructive ideas about how we go through this globalized world. I really hope this conference will produce very creative proposal. Thank you very much.
Dear my honor leaders, dear my young leaders, my fellows, thank you so much for your coming, and also thank you so much for Professor Rock and Nobi, wonderful organization for very wonderful dinner, wonderful night conference today. First of all, we would like to inform you something about our Young Leaders Network. As you know, December 12, 2014, Boston Global Forum announced framework for peace and security in the Pacific and Young Leaders Network for Peace and Security. That is the result for 1 year discussion and lead by our leader, Governor Michael Dukakis, chairman, co-founder of Boston Global Forum. And we have great conference in Boston, in Harvard, and connect very much with Tokyo, with our honor people here. Great contribution for our framework. Everything we deliver on our presentation already. So I only short very limited time, and I would like to give you time to talk. And I very short. The first that is we think we should increase and create ecosystem for our young leaders can contribute and dedicate it for peace and security in the world. And leaders by Governor Michael Dukakis, Professor Joseph Nye, and many professors at Harvard, MIT, and Boston area, and Northeastern also. We try to encourage and inspire young leaders, joy from the world by internet, by online, and we dedicated and create and with initiative for peace and security in the world. And first, we try to connect between the country, US, Japan, China, South Korea, Vietnam, Philippines, India. So, and also we not only think about policy, we can provide some solution for ourselves. That is in thinking, in study, and also develop. We name that is the concept for the life that is Thiên Châm, to practice as we are practiced for ourselves, very, very strong in mind and also in health and in very smart to think about the war and make happen our framework for peace and security. And just so that is, we hope that we tonight we can discuss and contribute your ideas, and our Young Leaders Network, very important. We that is monitor situation in the war, and especially in Pacific, in East Sea and South China Sea, and to try to manage conflict and make our area and region peace and security and stable. And second, we try to connect and make our cybersecurity and internet to become very, very peaceful and security environment. That is our mission for Young Leaders Network. So thank you so much, and I'm very honored to work with great leaders, Governor Michael Dukakis, and he lead and inspire me very, very much for Boston Global Forum and for all people from Harvard and MIT and Boston and area and many countries. So thank you very much for Governor Michael Dukakis came here, and he will give keynote speech today with us. Thank you so much.
I think I'm going to remain seated and suggest that all of us do that. Avoid having to jump up and down, and we can get the kind of informality we want in this discussion. First, Rock, to you and everybody here at Meiji University, a very big thank you, because we're delighted to be here. We thank you for going global, as the university is, and I hope this is part of that. And obviously we want to work very closely with you. Special honor to have my colleague Suzanne Ogden here with us, who is our China expert, among other things, and has been very much a part of the forum, and some good friends and colleagues up here with me. I was amused when I listened to Rock's story about his son and the T-shirt, because many years before that, I got a package from a strong supporter and a friend, which included socks and a T-shirt that said Duke on it. And there was this note saying, even in North Carolina, they celebrate your name. Now, my nickname is Duke. But for the life of me, I couldn't understand this. I mean, North Carolina, Duke, what is he talking about? About a week later, Rock, it suddenly struck me. He had gotten these things at Duke University. And that's why they were celebrating my name in North Carolina. But it's a real pleasure to be with all of you. I first came to Tokyo in 1956 as a young GI stationed in Korea, and had the opportunity to take as much leave time as I possibly could in Japan. What was so remarkable about Japan at the time was, despite all of the destruction that took place during World War II, this country had recovered remarkably quickly. And Nobue mentioned that this great railroad station of ours was just named for me. I only wish that our trains even approached the speed and the comfort of your trains. But even in the mid-50s, the train system in this country was operating quite well. And of course today it's one of the great pioneers in high-speed rail. So my goal, now that they've named the station for me, is to see if we can't turn the rail passenger service of the United States into something close to the kind of thing that you've had ever since 1963. And not only you, but South Korea and China now, which is literally connecting its entire country with high-speed trains. We have a lot to do in the United States, and we can learn much from you. And it all started right here in Japan. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking at you today because we've got some very good people here that want to share ideas with you. Excuse me, but as you've heard, largely thanks to Tuan, we created the Boston Global Forum a little more than 2 years ago. And what we hoped we could do was two things. First, tap into a great deal of the intellectual talent and the expertise that we have in the Boston area. But at the same time, using online conferencing, take this out to a broader community worldwide and involve many, many people. And we've been able to do that in part because of the wonderful technology which makes it possible for those of you watching and listening to participate with us, even though you don't have to travel miles and miles to get here. And we're very pleased at the way the forum has evolved and developed. As you heard, we focused our first year on occupational safety and health, international standards of occupational safety and health after the terrible disasters in Bangladesh. And I think we made some contribution to the fact that today there are some standards out there and they're being enforced. And obviously we hope and expect that that will continue and we will follow that. And then at Tuan's very strong suggestion, decided that we would focus for the next 2 years on a very important topic, creating a framework for peace and security in the Pacific. This is an extraordinary part of the world. It is doing many great things, but as all of you know who are part of it, there are controversies, there are disputes, and not just about islands, but about other things. And as in every other part of the world, we have a choice. We can either continue with that, or we can see and work to create a framework in which these kinds of differences are resolved peacefully and sensibly through regional organizations under the UN with standards and codes and dispute resolution authority, which will make it possible for countries that happen to be disagreeing about lots of things, as the family of nations does, to resolve these differences peacefully, and either at the World Court or at the Law of the Sea tribunals, or perhaps at dispute resolution machinery that is created by a broad regional organization that covers the Pacific. Those are the kinds of ideas and issues that we want to explore, and in point of fact, we will be exploring them at great length tomorrow at an all-day conference here at Meiji University, which Rock has had a great deal to do with organizing. And so it's just a real pleasure for Kitty and me to be with you, to be back here in a place that I first was able to explore back as a young GI on leave time from Korea, and to make a real contribution. Now, one of the things, as Tuan pointed out, that we want to do now that we've been up and running for a couple of years is to involve young people actively in this effort. We have enormously talented young people all over the world. Many of them come to school in Boston. Many of them are coming to school right here at Meiji and other great universities. And as Suzanne Ogden will tell you, one of the ways that we bring people together, one of the ways that we are going to make this a world in which we can resolve our differences peacefully, is to encourage young people to go to school in other places, to learn about other cultures. This is a younger generation which doesn't have a lot of the biases and the prejudices that we had. Much more open, much more accepting of diversity, and really with great potential, far higher educational standards, all of these kinds of things. So this is a time when we think and hope that we can recruit many of you who are younger to be part of our Young Leaders Network and to play a major role in the work of the Boston Global Forum. We have much to do. On the other hand, the possibilities are extraordinary. And so tonight we're going to spend a lot of time talking about that. How do we engage talented, able, capable young people actively in what we are doing and in doing so, make them a part of the solution and not a part of the problem. You know, we have an old saying in English, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. Makes a lot more sense to develop a framework and institutions that can prevent things from happening rather than having to pick up the pieces when disaster strikes. And we hope that we can create a whole network of talented young people who will be part of the Boston Global Forum's work and will be working with us on this and other important issues. So it's a real pleasure for my dear wife and me to be with you here. This happens to be a very special time of year. Tokyo is absolutely beautiful. Thank you, Rock, for our tour. And we're just thrilled to be here and to be part of this. And at the same time, I hope making our contribution to a better and a more peaceful world, and a world where we can resolve our differences peacefully without bloodshed and constructively in a way that will make life better for people everywhere, and especially this part of the world. I think you have the potential for doing that and for setting a standard and an example for the rest of the world, which is pretty extraordinary, and we want to work with you. We're now going to hear from one of the original organizers of the Boston Global Forum, who's worked very closely with Tuan and with me. That's an old friend, Tom Patterson, who is the head of the Shorenstein Center for Press and Politics at Harvard, has been very much a part of this effort. And I think, Tuan, if I'm right, we're going to hear from Tom now. So, Tom, come on in.
The Young Global Leaders program of the Boston Global Forum, I think, is the most exciting thing that the forum has done. You know, when we think about the world and we think about what we can contribute to peace and security in the world, we sometimes look to top leaders like President Obama or President Putin, and we put all of our aspirations into the actions of these leaders. But history tells us a different story, that the real contributions come from the middle level, from the actions of people who really care about issues like peace and security, and who work at it daily, and work at it with others who also care about it. And what we're trying to do through the Young Global Leaders is to create a network of people committed to the same goals, to peace and security, and who are willing to kind of contribute to that effort, to talk with each other, to stay connected, to connect to others who also are interested in furthering peace and security. And the Young Global Leaders is truly global. In the last year, the Boston Global Forum looked carefully at the conflicts that have occurred in the South and East China Seas. And we looked at the relationship, particularly between the United States, Japan, and China, trying to promote principles that could contribute to peace and security in that particular area. But the Young Global Leaders is much broader than that. We have leaders in the United States, we have leaders throughout Asia, Vietnam, Japan, China, in Europe, in the UK, Ukraine, Russia, Germany, in Africa. It truly is a global network. And what we want and what we ask from our Young Global Leaders is that you work at the goals of peace and security, that you work with each other, that you learn from each other, and that you share your ideas with those who are outside the network. Because it's at that level, and particularly in your generation, that over the next decades, we're going to make real progress toward peace and security in the world. So thank you for being part of the Boston Global Forum's Young Global Leaders effort, and we look forward to working with you in the years ahead.
Thank you very much. The I just want to talk briefly about attitudinal changes that I think young people in particular can address. Older people tend to be more set in their attitudes. They are certain of what they think and it is not going to change. But young people are very open to new ideas and to thinking in a more positive way. We've seen dramatic changes in the young people, the younger generations in the United States in my lifetime. I was part of a changing generation, and now the generations behind me are seeing the world so differently. For example, there's far greater acceptance of different races. There's much more interracial marriage, much more acceptance of sexual differences, and so on. But the older generation, these things are still quite unacceptable. So, but what about the attitudinal changes we are hoping for with this group of young people working for peace and security in Asia? I've just mentioned 3 or 4. First of all, we think that it is very important to recognize and be aware of how much we all have in common, as Dean Darokono mentioned. But we can't just read about the fact that our economies are completely intertwined. We can't just read about our interdependence in the monetary system or in international policing or trafficking, or in many of the other areas, keeping a safe world and a very globalized world. We have to feel it somehow, and the only way to feel it is by talking with people of other countries. I think talking in person is the best, but today we have the tools of online capabilities. We can talk FaceTime, through our phones without any charges, and through our computers. So we really need to in person get to know people from other societies. One of the great changes that happened in the United States in terms of our developing our better understanding of Europe was that after World War II, after World War I, but even more so after World War II, because it was easier to get to Europe, millions of young Americans went to Europe and traveled throughout Europe and got to know people. They stayed in their homes. They lived there for the summer months sometimes or longer. And these things have all helped greatly. A second attitudinal change I think that your generation can do, because you are younger, is to stop dwelling on the past. There's nothing we can do about the past, and everybody can interpret the past in any way they want to. We need to recognize that history is written by individuals from each country, and that they are interpreting the past. It isn't, the history is whatever they say it is. We often say that the victors write history, the countries that were victorious, whether in terms of military power, economic power, but that doesn't mean that the countries that were not victors don't also have their view. But the problem is that if we keep on looking at the past instead of looking at the present and the future, we will not make progress towards peace and security. And the third and final point I want to make is that we need to accept each other's cultural and political differences and move on. A first step towards accepting the cultural and political differences is to treat each other as equals. not to feel that our culture is superior to your culture, that our political system is superior in any way. I'm sure the Japanese are aware, and so are the Chinese and the Americans, of how annoying it is to be told what to do, or to be told that your political system has to change, that it's just not as good as our political system. So I think these are important first steps, and that young people in a society are the future of that society, and if they work together, that they can make great changes in this acceptance of each other as equals, learning what values each society holds the most important to itself, and thinking about how new policies can reflect those values that are compatible with other countries as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Governor and Mrs. Dukakis and Mr. Tsant, for bringing all this team here. And today, this is a great event. As you said, it's a great environment as well. So I thought I wear my cherry blossom collar tie, but Nobuo-san beats me with that beautiful coat. Now, as a moderator, I was going to say there's two rules. Don't wait till you're going to be asked. Second, don't too easily agree with the previous speakers. But having heard what they said, I think I have to agree a lot with what Ogden-san, Dukakis-san, and San said. But I'll still say it very shortly because it's a 3 minutes rule. I'd like to challenge two things that a lot of Japanese now say, we have to know our culture, civilization, before we go out to world. I think it will take too much time. If you learn all Japanese culture, you'll become like us before you go out. Second thing, you don't have the illusion that you can persuade counterparts by learning history or whatever, and they'll never be persuaded. You cannot solve the issue. That's what Susan Ogden said as well. Three things just I advise. One, learn foreign languages. English is, well, necessity. If possible, Chinese, Korean, Vietnamese. I speak a bit of Bahasa. Saya berbicara bahasa, sudah lupa tapi okay. Time to show off. Second, learn about foreign culture with respect. Third, try to go there. It's not a big trip, surrounding countries, and make friends. The personal relations between those young leaders will develop into something very important in the future. It's a national affinity, I think, in the long run. So these are the advices I have. And I'd like to ask Kondo-san.
Thank you, Mr. Uesaki. Good evening, everyone. And Chairman Dukakis, young leaders, and those who used to be young, ladies and gentlemen. It's a great pleasure for me to be here with you and discuss the peace and security in this region. And I think it's a brilliant idea to involve young people. So in this respect, I really commend Mr. Tuan for having organized this meeting. I have 3 minutes, therefore I can give you only 3 points just for the food for thought for the discussion session which will follow. And first, I propose to establish Young Leaders Forum in the region, which is composed of young leaders, leaders of 20s and 30s, maybe 40s maximum, composed of Americans, Japanese, Chinese, Koreans, Vietnamese, and Thais, and discuss freely what needs to be done in this region. It doesn't have to be limited to security issue. It can be cultural issue or environment, disaster prevention, or whatever. And maybe you can start as a virtual forum you are so good at using internet or IT, advanced ITs, you can have a virtual sort of a forum amongst all the young leaders and start discussion. And once you have accumulated some good people, young leaders in the region, then you can have a face-to-face sort of a retreat-style meeting somewhere in the remote island. So people, 3 to 5 from each country get together, spending a week discussing all those things and having dinner, drinks, maybe singing karaoke. Then you get to know each other. And you know, we are humans, you are humans. Before you are Japanese, before you are Chinese, before you are American. So in order to get to that level, you have to spend a week face to face, having sharing same meal. And that's my first suggestion. Because you know, we tend to be trapped by idée fixée or stereotypical images. So we think, well, if he is an American, he must be such and such. If he's Chinese, he must be or she must be this and that. If he's Islamist, he must be fanatic. This kind of stereotypical image is prevailing all over the world and in our hearts and mind. So we have to get out of this box of idée fixée. It is not easy. So spending a week without any titles, professions, history, nationalities, and you get to know each other. That is the first thing to do. Secondly, I like all of you to promote more clearly the values of liberal democracy. Democracy, freedom, rule of law, human rights. Those are important values. Of course, some of us are fed up with those ideas because we have been preached by the Americans for 70 years. But still, liberal democracy is the best system, at least better than any other systems like dictatorship or authoritarian rule. So, you know which country I am targeting at. There are a few sort of authoritarian states in this region. There's a big one. So we have to keep promoting the importance of these ideas. And finally, I want you to put our house in order in this respect. I think today, liberal democracy is not working properly in Japan, in the US, in Europe. Why? Because too much greed, too much freedom, excessive freedom, have sort of contaminated the society. Therefore, we have repeated financial crisis, we have the income disparity growing, we have high level of youth unemployment. All the problems have been caused because of the excessive freedom and loss of control and the lack of morals and ethics which have to be followed, have to be backed by, or which have to back the freedom. Freedom works only when it is accompanied by the sense of responsibility, sense of public interest, which is not the case these days. And because we are not successful in running liberal democracy properly, then countries who do not like liberal democracy try to take advantage of it, or the Islam State, ISIL, are taking advantage of the bad performance of liberal democratic countries to attract young people who are fed up with the current situation. So we have to put our house in order to demonstrate the beauty and attractiveness of liberal democracy once more. Otherwise, we are giving ammunition to China and to terrorists, because they talk to the young people, look at America, look at Japan, look at Europe. They have been preaching liberal democracy, but they are not doing well. They are not paradise at all. Young people are fed up. So we should not give ammunition to those countries. For that, we have to put our house in order. Thank you.
I think we are a little running out of time, so let us try to keep to 3 minutes. Sasajima-san, please. Sasajima-san used to be a journalist, and now he changed to academy, and he's a professor now. Yes, please.
I will be a professor from the 1st of April.
Is that April Fool?
Thank you very much, Ambassador Fujisaki, and Honorable Dukakis. And I was astonished to hear so soft phrases from Ambassador Fujisaki and Ambassador Kondo. I have learned a lot of hard-line positions from Ambassador Fujisaki and Ambassador Kondo so far, saying they are in the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So I was a little bit astonished to hear that today. I'd like to, my role and mission would be to introduce a recent situation and to indicate some concerns of ordinary people in Asian Pacific regions. It seems to me that both United States and Japan has maintained that engagement policies toward China in the last 2 decades since Clinton administration, I think. And that policy includes both phenomena of the competition and cooperations. And we have seen that both sides so far, and especially we have witnessed competitions between China and Japan in the last 4 years. But fortunately, that has changed to turn to the cooperation side since last December, I think, because President Xi Jinping and Prime Minister Abe conducted a summit meeting at Beijing on the sideline of that APEC meeting in the last late November. So that is at the I think that was at the turning point. But the problem is that we have faced that rapidly changing power balance in the world. And that is a big problem, I think. China has been proceeding with its maritime expansion through the force of arms, intensifying its provocative actions toward the neighboring countries, including Japan, in very alarming manners. Sino-Japanese relationship has been frozen in the recent 2 years, and both leaders have no dialogue in the official lines. Chinese military capability has enabled it to take an increasingly assertive stance in the territorial disputes, including that with Japan in the East China Sea and with some ASEAN members in the South China Sea. China's recent moves in the East and China Sea poses serious challenges for the United States, Japan, and several ASEAN members. Kurt Campbell, former Assistant Secretary of State of the United States, who was a key figure for Asian policy in the first Obama administration, has defined that the Senkaku problem as a powder keg in the Asian Pacific regions. Although some Japanese and Chinese leaders have said repeatedly that they do not want war, but this expression implies that the dangerous situation at Balkan Peninsula before World War I, warning eruption of a contingency which comes from a potential misunderstanding and miscalculation. So now we face that the powder keg in the Asian Pacific regions. That is a big problem, I think. This confrontation leads to an idea that the geopolitical rivalries have stormed back to center stage, and also old-fashioned power plays are also back in the international relations.
Sorry,
Yes.
we can come back to you later, but can you sort of wrap up your points, and then
yeah.
we'll come back to you
Yeah,
later. Yes.
Yeah, okay. So we face the hard choices. One of the choices would be that whether or not Japan will participate in that AIIB, Asian Infrastructure Investment Bank, which was led by China. So the deadline for the participation as an ordinary member for the AIIB would be the day after tomorrow. So Japan faces this problem. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Now I think we have two names on the initial speaker. Mr. Van Tuan. Yes, please.
Thank you. Dear my fellow, I'm very honored at being here, supporting Global Forum Conference. Because the time is limited, I present my talks and Dylan to your understanding. Thank you so much for your invitation. I believe the Young Leader Network for Peace and Security will have great contribution for the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Next, I have Mr. Yasumasa Yamamoto. Oh, I'm sorry. Do we have? I didn't have it in my list. Sorry. Roya.
Thank you so
Babu?
much to the Young Leaders Network for Peace and Security that inviting me to discuss about important social media in maintaining peace and security. Social media plays a permanent role in making huge changes in the society. Do you know that the millions of the people are using different social media in a day? Do you know that this number is growing constantly with the speed? Whatever we talk about social change, political change, or personal change, social media provided a different way to connect people from different regions, states, countries to unite in a particular situation. Most of these users don't know the real importance of the using social media sites. They just think it is a platform to share their image, to do commenting on their friends' pictures, or they just updated what's going on in their life. These people are really unknown about the fact that the social media has the power to maintain peace and improve the security among the society. In this internet world, it serves as a tool to convey your message and view that bring great impact on worldwide public. Top social media sites such as Twitter, Facebook, or Bitlander not only provide you a platform to say anything you want with a great freedom, but also make you understand how people interact with one another and how they can get impacted. We all needed to know that the social media is not only used by common people, even using by government, large corporation, or even using by different non-profit organizations. One of the non-profit organizations that using the social media or focusing on that to empowering the women and children in developing countries is Digital Citizen Fund. Francesco Rulli and I founded this organization in 2013 to empower women and girls in developing countries like Afghanistan to building the IT centers and providing digital literacy tools for them. So far, we built 13 IT centers and we have connected more than 55,000 of female students in direct to the world of social media to start communicating way up the border and become as a digital citizen. And more than 7,000 of these students get direct beneficiary of our training. Today's youth actually dominating this platform in their own unique activities. They have the power to make change through the world when they are online, when they are posting an image, or they are discussing on different social media, or some of them making fake accounts. Why? Because they want to freely talk about whatever they want in order to give their messages to governments or to the powerful people or to policymakers. When we talk about the young generation, we understand that they get involved in the mission by raising their voice in several different ways. The teenagers are more aware about the importance of social media to share in their world, to talk about what they want or to talk about what they're thinking. We also developed a new platform called Artistic Street, a photo sharing application that encourages kids and young adults to be active in raising awareness about different social problems through the art, and we're giving them a word. We believe that the young generation should be involved as early as possible in order to help them grow. We hope to inspire the youths, that they inspire their fellow youths and develop their creativity by using social media. Social media is increasingly used as a medium to spot and face the challenges that help in building a bridge between opponents. When youths get a chance to express their feeling and idea regarding social issues in any way, without to have a fear, without to be worried about that, they get more involved with each other or involved with the active user. This is make a network that encourage more and more people for participation. These days, social media has become a means of empowering the communities and taking ownership to permanent the issue that bring huge advocacy in the society or impact on the society. In simple word, we can say that the people, especially youth, get freedom to take easily on a matter. They can talk about any social problems, administration, illegal organization, or about their religious culture and government, which they cannot speak publicity. The perspective of building both peace and security to get increased to a great extent. This is they can do with social media. No matter what situation has been arise, social networks are great sufficient job in promoting their peace and security with millions of the people opinion. Thank you so much for listening to my presentation.
Thank you very much. Yamamoto-san, please.
Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Yasumasa Yamamoto, industry analyst at Google. First, I'm glad to be here and welcome former Governor Michael and Katie Tukakis in this cherry blossom season. I invited most of the young leaders in Japan to this conference. Each of the professional ranges from finance, bureaucrat, nonprofit, think tank, military, medicine to consulting. Most of us have experience studying at top school in the United States. Especially for attendees who study in Boston, we share the experience of debating various topics such as education, energy policy, healthcare policy at Professor Ezra Boget's house, who is a member of BGF. After coming back to Japan, each of us had limited exposure to and misses opportunity to discuss wide range of important international topics with great young professionals outside Japan and great intellectuals such as Professor Michael Tukakis, Professor Suzanne Ogden, and former Ambassador Ichiro Fujisaki, Seiichiro Kondo-san. I hope this is a great opportunity we could discuss global topic with scope outside of our profession and our generation. Today's topic is about peace and security in the Pacific, especially focusing on how to monitor the situation of Pacific and how to lead reconciliation initiatives for conflicts. For my industry, cybersecurity is concerned, but I'm sure technology can improve international relations in Pacific, as Professor Ogden said. I'm looking forward to hearing attendees' unique opinion in second part of conference. Thank you, BGF, to provide this opportunity.
Thank you, Yamamoto-san. Now we have about 20 minutes of discussions among the people on the podium. One thing, Sasajima, I'm sorry to have stopped you, but the point here is that I think your analysis is accurate. However, I think people should not be sort of have an illusion. This is true. So young leaders have to learn the reality. But here, what we have to be discussing is how should we explore the possibility that they could contribute more? What can they do to prepare for the better world? And so maybe we like to focus on that kind of discussion here rather than the present discussion of the military buildup or whatever. As it's important. I totally agree with you on that. But so, is there anything you would like to disagree with what other people have said? Don't please say that you totally agree with.
I'm just a journalist, and so I'm not qualified to sit on this stage. And just I'd like to say that we should see the reality of the world and in Asia and the Pacific regions. And I just would like to say that we should not take any illusion to the current situations. We may delay from the present positions, and some people may face some some disappointment seeing one case and the other case. So maybe we have to see that there's some constant lines of the diplomatic relations between China, United States, and Japan, I think, and we should be patient seeing China, I think. So patience. That is important, I think, to see when we see that China, that is that very different nations, I think, and it is very difficult to overcome the difference of the culture and history, I think.
Thank you very much. Others, would you, Kondo-san, please, and Ogden-san, please.
Thank you.
And then Kondo-san.
Yes, I agree with you that the
Sasajima-san?
It is not the point of this a forum for young leadership to emerge in Asia to state that China is the problem and that China is aggressive and that China is authoritarian and needs to change. The point is to better understand the values that they have, not just about who owns an island, but what they see as valuable in their culture, and to come to appreciate some of the things about China. I think we, for example, we isolated and contained China in the United States. We insisted that Japan go along with us from 1950 until 1971. And nobody could go to China. Chinese couldn't leave China to come to the West. They were isolated and contained. So we didn't really even know what China was until we started to go there. And I had been studying China. By the time I went there, I was one of the first delegations to go to China in 1979 when China opened up. And I was stunned what China was, because even though I had studied China for more than a decade, it was all on a piece of paper. You know, it was the propaganda from our own country, but it was also their propaganda. But I had not seen the Chinese people as human beings. It was a hostile political system. And when even the very first trip, I just realized this amazing common humanity that we had, that there are people just like ourselves, you know, very funny people, very dull people, very dedicated people, a lot of bureaucrats who are stuck in their
You sound like bureaucrats are bad.
Well, yes, right. But you know, I think the point is that we can't tell them that their system is inferior, especially when China, or has to be changed, especially when their system is doing very well. It's very hard to tell them that. So what we want to do is try and understand them. Just let me make one more comment on this, not about young people, but you know, we have had a program of exchanging people at the Kennedy School, the John F. Kennedy School at Harvard, in the military. And in now at least 2 incidents, we have been fortunate that the Chinese generals and colonels came to the Kennedy School and met our own military people, because when these crises arose, they picked up the phone and spoke to each other and said, you know, what is happening? Oh, this is a big mistake or whatever. Yeah, sorry, well, let's try and figure that out. I don't think that could have happened without that personal knowledge of the people and having spent a lot of time together with them.
Thank you very much, Kondo-san. And
Thank you.
after Kondo-san, I'd like to have Chan-san and Dukakis-san come and make comment, and then we'll go to the audience, please.
Thank you, Isaki-san. This is not a total disagreement, and I want to raise 2 points, one on what Mr. Sasajima said, and one on what Professor Ogden said. Patience, yes, it is important, but patience has to be backed by strong, resolute sort of attitude toward China's aggressive attitude over the islands. We have to strengthen our alliance in this region, not to allow any military, ambitious actions by China. Secondly, yes, we do have to understand the history of China, which is a history of humiliation for 150 years. We do understand this. But understanding that their background is one thing, and allowing whatever they want to do is another. The establishment of AIID, there's a danger of eroding liberal democratic principles all over the world. This is the concern I have. So I want young leaders to discuss this later.
Chan-san, would you like to?
I have ideas that we should exchange information and transparency as the initiative at Boston Global Forum, and we do for Young Leaders Network for Peace and Security, because I'm from Vietnam. I work for Vietnam for a long time, and editor-in-chief of VietnamNet. That most important, that is information. That Chinese, they don't know very much about the war. Many Chinese. I like Chinese. They are very long historic and very much traditional culture. But I think information, and they don't know about China. Military came to Vietnam border side in 1979, killed many, nearly 100,000 Vietnamese citizens. They don't know. They thought, yes, they only think about that Vietnam did bad thing with China. And also, they don't know Japan business leaders came to China in early 1980 to support and develop China economic. They don't know the US came and bring capital and technology and develop China economic very strong today. So I think that's why we think that transparency and security in internet, any citizen have chance to access, to read, and we exchange each other. Also, from the US, when the US don't came to Vietnam, there are a lot of Vietnamese soldiers hate the US. They talk American. They talk, wow, that is they came to Vietnam, kill Vietnamese. But when two countries, Vietnam and the US, exchange very much, and we exchange from military to military, people to people. Now, Vietnam and the US, great relationship very much. So I think with my ideas that we should exchange information and transparency in information and culture. Most important, young leaders, our young leaders, we exchange and meet each other. And the Boston Global Forum can do that is set up some group, our young leaders from Japan, young leaders in China and Vietnam and South Korea. We discuss and we know each other. I think that is our ideas.
Thank you very much. Governor Dukakis, please.
Well, let me just make 2 points. First, one of the things I learned over the course of a long political career, painfully, is that listening is as important as talking. You learn a lot when you listen. And one of the things that we've got to train our young people to do is to listen. Because I wasn't a very good listener. I was a pretty good talker when I started in politics. I wasn't a very good listener. And I suffered some defeats as a result of that. The better a listener I got, the better a public servant I got. And I think that's important. The second thing, and we're here in a great university, and it's important to say this, is that the more we can have young people going to school on each other's campuses, the better. We are now involved in some very serious negotiations with Iran on the question of nuclear proliferation. It just so happens that the two top technical experts that are representing Iran in the United States both were pursuing their PhDs at the same time on the campus of MIT. Now, they didn't apparently know each other, but they had that bond, and they have that bond. And the fact that they got their doctorates at MIT has been a very powerful force in all of this. It may or may not guarantee an agreement. I hope it does. But it's very clear that as they have worked on this, that relationship has been extremely valuable, both in a personal as well as an informational sense. And if we do get an agreement, those two men deserve and will deserve a lot of the credit. And I don't think there's any question that there has now developed an important personal relationship, which in effect has its roots in their common educational experience on that great campus. So the more of this we can do, and obviously Meiji University is very much a part of this, and those of us on our campuses in the United States are trying to encourage this as much as we possibly can. The more of this we can do, the better I think our young leaders are going to be, and the more understanding they're going to be. So that when, for example, China suggests a major investment bank, which it seems to me will make an important contribution to the public infrastructure of this region, we don't have a kind of knee-jerk reaction from my country, which turned out to be ill-advised and really quite counterproductive. It's so important that we try to develop that kind of understanding. John Kennedy famously once said that history teaches us that old enmities do not necessarily last, that divisions and rivalries and conflict between and among countries over time often turn into friendship. We have a perfect example of that right here in Japan with the United States, the role of Germany in, I think, very importantly, providing some stability and understanding and reaching out before we have ourselves another Cold War in Eastern Europe. Very, very important. So I think it's important to understand that nations change, cultures change, and countries that are enemies today may well be working together tomorrow, and how well we know that right here in Japan itself. So those are the kinds of things that I hope our young leaders will understand, learn, and practice, because that's the way we're going to achieve the kind of world that we're seeking. And it's one of the reasons we have the Young Leaders Program, and why I hope we can develop a network of young leaders around the world that have those qualities and do good things as a result of it. Time for discussion?
I think we are now at 2020, and we'll have Q&A, but not Q&A. I'm going to change it. It's you can express any views as well. It doesn't have to be a question to someone. Just introduce yourself and express your views. And in the end, I will have some of you who would like to make remarks. But let's go on to the young leaders. Please, any one of you, raise your hand and introduce yourself, and then please, sir. Yeah.
My name is Hiroaki Kuwashima. I'm now currently running my own think tank, policy advisory firm called Aoyama Shachu in Tokyo. I was in Boston as well. First of all, thank you so much for the wonderful discussion and inviting all of us for the great forum today. And I was a Harvard Business School and Harvard Kennedy School student from 07 to 10. And at the time, I took a class of the Professor Stephen Walt when I took the international relations class. So I'm a little bit affected by his views on the international relations. Listening to the discussion, I was thinking Japan's role in the regional stability in the Asia Pacific region. And my opinion is basically Japan should take even more realism based approach. So basically I agree with the Kondo-san's idea that in my understanding, I think Japan should have more stronger defense capability, and also stronger strengthen U.S.-Japan alliance. The reason why is that Japan, in my understanding, is very on the middle of the sandwich. On the upper part, which is the United States, and the bottom part is China. So Japan is in the middle of the U.S. and China, and I think both the situation of China and both in the situation of Japan, of United States, there are so many uncertainties in terms of the politics, internal politics, and in terms of military, and in terms of the public. So when we look at China, first of all, Chinese politics is very...
I'm sorry, I don't think we should go into analysis of a Chinese politics or security policy. If you have any suggestions, proposals, your views, please express it. But let's not go into analysis of international relations. I'm sorry.
Okay.
We can come back to you later if you have
sure.
some...
So yeah, okay.
Yes.
All right. So just my point is that so there are so many uncertainties around Japan of the two major powers, politics and military, and the public. So in that sense, what Japan should rely on, my opinion is the only way Japan can effectively counter or deal with vis-a-vis China is to be certain on the Japan's policy, of the defense policy, and also also have a stability on the Japanese politics, having a consistent message to China or the United States, or maybe the Japanese public should be also be more monolithic in expressing its views over Japan. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Other views? Yes, please. You see, I think we all know Japan's government policy, which is to fortify U.S.-Japan security policy, and I think it is supported by many people. And we are talking on that basis already. So please, go ahead. Yes.
Hi, everyone. I was a little bit unique because I was born in Japan. I am Japanese, but I served 9 years in the U.S. military. So in that regard, I full-heartedly agree with you that I'm speaking on that premises. I kind of wandered back to Japan and wondering, what am I supposed to do about this? Kind of unique kind of position I am. But after today's discussion with everyone, I feel I kind of have more of a sense of direction. My comment is the following. I do a lot of business with Japan and China right now. I notice a lot of folks here are in government and bureaucrats and whatnot. I hope, the more we do business between Japan and China, the more we like each other. I think this goes for a lot of us Southeast Asia as well. So the more stability you can give us, the more friendly we can get. So thank you very much for your help always.
Thank you very much. Please, the lady in the back.
Thank you very much for inviting us to this wonderful forum. My name is Mayuka Yamazaki. I work for Harvard Business School, but I'm a Tokyo-based staff. And I used to study in Washington, D.C., international relations. By the way, the gentleman who just spoke was Vic, who didn't speak, who didn't talk, who didn't say his name. Building on Vic's point, I've been one of the organizers of the new initiative between Japan and China, which is called Japan-China Leadership Program. It's totally bottom-up, private sector-led initiative to bring 20 to 30 people from both countries, Japan and China, and mostly entrepreneurs, content producers, artists, business people, and social entrepreneurs. Because of the very severe relationship between Japan and China, it was very hard to bring in political perspectives to this program. So number one rule is basically do not talk about Sino-Japan relationship at the conference. So we only share our life stories, we talk about the vision for the future, and after 2 days, it was a great successful conference in Beijing, and we thought, we were able to take a first step to building a friendship and trust between the two countries. But at the same time, we also realized it actually takes long time to build friendship and trust, between people. Just one-time friendship conference doesn't make any difference. We have to keep doing. So we saw some hope, but we also thought, maybe do we have really time? Building these friendships takes time, and can we sustain this stability long enough for us not to go on a war, for example? So actually,
what is your suggestion then? Alternative or proposal?
But the only suggestion, our only solution that I can find is just to keep doing this. Yeah. But at the same time, we only big serious concern whether we have time.
Mm-hmm. Thank you very much. Let us have other. I think it's very good that you're expressing clear views, not all questions, but your views. I think this is very important. So please, let's go on.
Hi, my name is Seiji Nada. I'm a head of government relations at MetLife Insurance KK. Well, actually, before joining to MetLife, I was a government servant between 2004 2012, I was working at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. So Ambassador Furisaki was the chief economic negotiator when I was a very junior guy. So I was really happy to.
I'm sorry. I was just joking.
Okay. Well, anyway, so I joined MOFA in 2004, hoping that I can contribute something for to reconcile between Asian countries. So I was really happy that as of 2008, I had a chance to be posted in Japanese mission to EU. In Brussels, I started to understand the reason why these 27 member states of Europe is doing such in a cohesion or united way. The reason why is that the answer is very simple. They see almost each other every day, every week. Like minister level, they see each other every month. And the head of state level, they see each other almost every 2 or 3 months. So I understand that this is very reason why this 27 member country is very coherent and very united. So we can't imagine the war within Europe will happen again. But on contrary here in Asia, we have some institutions such as ARF, ASEAN Regional Forum, but they see each other almost once in a year. So my question to the speaker here, so why can't we institutionalize yet some regional forum? I mean, I'm not proposing that we should make kind of a intergovernmental or ultra-governmental bodies such as EU, but why can't we see each other more often? I mean, thank you.
Thank you very much. I think the lady there was raising the hand before, so.
My name is Yukiko. I work with the Japan International Cooperation Agency. It's very good to see all of you and to make new acquaintances here as well. I was at a Zen session on Saturday at a temple called Enkakuji in Kamakura. And there are teachings of 3 evils in the world. Does anyone know them in Buddhism? The first is greed, the second is anger, and the third is ignorance.
Third is what?
Ignorance. And I was thinking on this because one of the few moments last year that I really felt I was so ignorant was the fact that I had a sort of workshop with my World Bank colleagues in China. And I found that my Chinese colleagues knew more about, I'm from Osaka, and I told them I was from Osaka, and the first thing they say is, well, you must know a lot about the politics of your city. And I thought, well, I'm from Osaka, but I don't know very much about the politics of my city. Many times I think it's these instances when we really realize that we need to learn more about ourselves. And Mr. Dukakis was talking about listening, and it's very important to listen, but sometimes if you don't understand the actual context, the fabric of the conversation, you cannot even listen. And this is where ignorance becomes a very, very big problem. And so all I can say is that we really need to sort of, using social media, using even old traditional media, to be able to know more about the people that we are actually working with, we are actually living with on one planet. Because right now, if we don't cooperate, we don't even know if this earth is going to last for our generations to come. If it's going to be sustainable environmentally, or if it's still going to be sustainable socially. And so I just felt that if many times we say important things and we use too many words, but I just thought that if everyone would maybe take back from, as my point of view, that we try and lessen a little bit of our ignorance, and understand that it's one of the 3 evils that we have in our society, it might make our understanding of not just political security and national security, but also our understanding of humanity much deeper.
Thank you very much. I think you were raising your hand. Yes, please. I'll tell you that Now we are 8:30, and around 8:50 we have to wrap up this discussion and let the people on the podium to respond to you, 1 minute each or something like that. But please, until that, let's go on.
Okay. Well, thanks a lot, first of all, for giving us this wonderful opportunity. My name is Yoichiro Ikeda, working for the Ministry of Finance, International Bureau of the Ministry of Finance. And in my day-to-day work, I have been addressing the issue around the Ukrainian support or sanction against Russia, or nuclear export of nuclear power plant, and whether Japan should participate in the AIIB or not, or are the hard choices, as Sasajima-san mentioned. Well, I just want to follow Fujisaki-san mentioned as a general rule that Fujisaki-san mentioned, which is kindly disagreeing with what other speakers mentioned. In this regard, I just want to humbly disagree what Kondo-san mentioned. You mentioned that you described yourself as a person or people who used to be young. I agree. I humbly disagree with this, because whether the people should be is young or not should be defined not as of age itself, but as a mindset, which is the openness or curiosity or the activeness. And I believe that all of you here are sharing or cherishing these mindsets. So I would like to call you senior young leaders. So, and then I would like to ask the one question to the senior young leaders, which is the value of patience or tolerance. Well, one of my another senior young leader once told me that, well, one of the good things that you get old is that you can learn the value of patience or tolerance. And then when we look at the difficult issues around us, with including the island issue or the conflict, all we know that the tolerance is important. But my question and my struggle is that how we can keep our tolerance without losing without the thing that we value most. For instance, take the example of Senkaku Island. We value that island. We value and we put the importance of the island and our own territory. But we are also told that we have to be patient or tolerant towards abuse that Chinese people, the government, has been cherishing. So under this very difficult situation, how we can strike the best balance between the tolerance or patience and the motion that we have to carry out. That's my struggle and question. And if you would give us tips, I really appreciate it. Thanks.
Thank you very much. What was your name? I'm sorry.
My name is Yoichiro Ikeda.
Ikeda-san.
Yes.
Sorry, ma'am. Yes, please. No, but go ahead. She is young.
But I do. And 11 years ago, we were here for a conference, and I remember very well that it was 11 years ago because one of our 12 grandchildren was born when we were here. And I was appalled 11 years ago that there were so few women participating in the program. And I'm going to implore all of the men and women here today to work very hard in including more women in the conference a year from now. It is very important that we have that kind of opportunity. And this was not a Japanese program that we came to Japan for. It was a United States Army program, so that they were responsible for not including more women. But I think we all have a responsibility to push our leaders to do that. And I trust that that's going to happen in another
It's
year.
a great improvement from the last time you were here, isn't it? Nine ladies here.
Well,
I counted.
it's an improvement, but not good enough.
Not good enough. Okay, thank you very much. Were you? No more speakers? Huh? もういいですか?
Thank you for this wonderful opportunity to us. I'm very pleasure to be here. My name is Emi Shitara. I'm working as an independent currently and work as a tri-sector, a cross-sector. I also supported a U.S. government and Harvard Kennedy School Japan trip as well before. And my opinion is, we discussed about the China and Japan relationship. I just told my own experiences. I have been in Shanghai University when I was a student. At that time, I'd like to participate in the homestay, and we enjoyed sharing the Japanese pop culture. And we found that we have the same mind, the same opinion, and the same fun as well. And after that, I joined so many leadership programs around the world and found that the people have the maybe same mindset actually. And currently, by thinking ISIS issues, and I also supported the UN conference as well. And we have so many population growth, and many youth actually wanted to find the belonging. The belonging is very important. Even us in my family, with my families, I sometimes discuss about my belongings because I'm currently belong in the kind of the poor, poorest ladies. So this is important to the older people, and older people do like to have the safe place. So I think the love and friendship, as you leaders said, is the most important. And I always pray for peace during participate in these sessions. So, and one of my suggestions is that I have some suggestion is that currently I also supporting the Women's International Networking Conference, which comes from the Europe, and it's coming sooner in Japan as well. And I used to be work in the American company as a marketing communications people, and I found that with women's colleagues, we often collaborate and very cooperate and understand each other. And right now, I often contact the people from the Singapore as well, not only for the Singapore, but any other regions as well. So we could make it especially empowering the women's power as well. It is not like fighting rather than a feminine, beautiful power. And also, the second one is to develop this network. Why don't we call to the Mark Zuckerberg, Facebook CEO, to develop this network, because he's also from the Harvard, and he's a young leader, and he's also the influencer to the young people. And maybe it's easier to make the best community if we do like to have it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. No more from the floor? I think I said in the beginning, was it Kwanwa-san, your name? That I'll come back to you. So please, before I go to the podium, if you have.
I'm going to be really quick. That I just wanted to point out one of the ideas of the Japanese young citizen, how Japanese young people see the world. Looking at China, looking at just the current improvement, for example, the relationship between Japan and China, a slight progress on relationship. I think it's all related to how the Chinese domestic politics going on. When Xi Jinping, Premier Xi Jinping, going to have more stability in power, sometimes the negotiation goes further. So it's really depending on how Chinese domestic politics going on. It's really uncertain for us to foresee. And also about Chinese military, for example. Sometimes it's also, we see that the Chinese, to what extent civilian control over Chinese military is working on is also very uncertain. That to what extent Chinese leadership has really have control and grip on Chinese military, it's also uncertain. And also at the U.S. side, about the U.S. domestic politics, is very uncertain. Also, if you look at the U.S. how the U.S. Congress is going on, and also about the presence of the U.S. military in Asia Pacific. If you look at how the United States is dealing with the Middle East situation, how the U.S. is dealing with Iran, and also how they are dealing with Syria, or how the United States is dealing with Ukraine. Also, sometimes it's very confusing, to be frank, to expect the overall direction of the U.S. foreign policy. So, looking at the whole uncertainty, both the United States and China, which is where Japan is in the middle, what Japan should take is I think, the more realistic or realism-based approach that having a stronger defense capability, also the strengthening the U.S.-Japan alliance, I think that is only credible and certain way to deal with China. Thanks so much.
Thank you very much. Now I would like to ask the people on the podium to speak. First, Professor Ogden.
Thank you very much. Very interesting.
I'm sorry. Less than 2 minutes each, please,
Okay.
because there's all the people here. Yes.
While I don't disagree with any of your analyses of the foreign policy or power relationships, the purpose of this evening that is to try to advance ideas about what young people can do about it that has nothing to do with what people at the top are making decisions about. What young people can do to change attitudes that will, in the long run, make a great deal of difference. I remember back in the 1950s, Henry Kissinger, before he became Henry Kissinger, Henry Kissinger was at Harvard as just a professor, and he had in his class, he had a seminar to which he invited young leaders, young potential leaders of Europe. They were from Germany, France, Belgium, Italy, and they came together for a couple of months, for a couple of years each summer. And the result was that when these leaders became actually the young people like Willy Brandt became the leaders of Europe, they all knew each other and they could all talk to each other. That's what we're trying to think about. Let me just make one other comment that in respect to what Professor Dukakis had to say, and also your issue about tolerance and how long can we be tolerant, people do change and states change. Attitudes do change. You can like somebody today and hate them tomorrow. But one thing that has recently happened that very much relates to China-Japan relations are the large number of students and tourists who are coming here, both students and tourists, and even young people who are getting jobs in the third sector, tertiary sector here. And they love Japan. The Chinese tourists, the Chinese students, they just love Japan. It's so clean, people are so honest, and they're so polite. And they tell this on the media back to China. And people in China are not happy about this. Those people who have said that Japan is such an evil country are very upset that these Chinese are saying such good things about Japan, and they say you're traitors to China. You don't love the motherland. But you see, they are making a big difference. People are starting to listen. And this is the kind of thing, the tolerance, the time will change. Things can change. And I think the hope of Tuan and Governor Dukakis is that the young people, if they want things to change in a positive way, getting to know each other will help.
Thank you very much. And there were questions from Ikeda-san on patients and also from the Foreign Ministry gentlemen about the regional dialogue and forum as well. And if any of you would like to touch upon that, Sasajima-san first. But the time is limited, so please try to...
All right. One guy raised the question of that how we can communicate with other nations in the Asian regions. And we have ASEAN Regional Forum, but it has not worked so well for the mutual communication so far. So is there any idea of that? I think that the United States and Japan should establish new architecture, which is something like CSCE type organizations. CSCE has worked so well so far in the Ukraine crisis, and they have worked to communicate with each other between the European nations and Russia. And also it has provided that some manpower to watch that crisis situations in the Ukraine, east side of the Ukraine, so that maybe that kind of functions will work in the Asian Pacific regions also. Yes, we have ALF. Yes, we have Asian Summit. Yes, we have APEC meetings. However, there is no headquarters in each organization in Asia. So maybe we need some new architectures which also establish some headquarters in Asia. So maybe Japan can lead in that kind of planning. That is my answer about it. And tolerance and the patience, this is a very difficult question, I think. One point is that Jomiya Sharma of University of Chicago proposed that containment policy against China. I disagree with that. It is impossible to contain China, as Joe Nye of Kennedy School mentioned. I supported the idea of that Joe Nye. So if it is impossible to contain China, we have to take a balance of power against China, and while we establish that the new while we deepen that interdependent relationship with China. So it will be a very narrow path. There is no accurate or right answer about it, but maybe Japan needs to seek such a narrow path, I think.
Thank you very much. Kondo-san.
Thank you. Time is limited, right? 2 points. Patience and tolerance. I think we should maintain tolerance as long as our vital interests, such as territorial or economic, are not irreversibly affected. Second, because under the current situation, if we give an inch, they will take a mile. That's the lessons we have learned in the past. Secondly, as I said at the outset, I am in favor of increasing people to paper exchange, maybe 10 times, 20 times as much as that we have had in the past. Because we always have stereotypical images, most cases negative. So if China, the military, ship does something, we think they are all demons. But if you know many people in China, then you think of those faces, friendly faces, and then you will realize that, well, that's something done by a military man, aggressive man. China is not, the whole China is not supporting this. So having friends in all the countries in this region is very important, and therefore student-to-student exchange is very important. And I have been advocating introduction of Erasmus program, which is prevalent in Europe, in this region, East Asia region. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Son.
Yeah, I like a tolerance question. That is very important. And I think with Vietnamese experience in reconciliation with the US and also with China and also relationship with Japan, that I think we need common value. That is the transparency and I think democracy. Yeah, that common value for the world. So any country respect that common value, and we can tolerance, and also we have practice in a mindset and to think respect culture and different culture from any country. For example, from Buddhism and Muslim and Christian, and we try to practice that Thiên Châm. Thiên Châm, that is a very good practice in Vietnam to make very, very peaceful thinking and tolerance. And I think that, an overview, I think that two things, common value for the country in the world. And the second, that is practice something for in thinking as a Thiên Châm.
Thank you very much, Governor.
Come tomorrow and you'll hear my full presentation. Folks, I think it's absolutely crazy to go down the military road before this region has the kind of architecture that you're talking about. Now, what is that? Is it ASEAN +3? Is it the ASEAN +4? Is it a different organization? This region desperately needs a regional organization, in my opinion, with rules, with dispute resolution processes that can begin to resolve these problems without this kind of, do we contain them, don't we contain them? Of course you're not going to contain China. I mean, that's not going to happen. The question is, how do you bring China into the family of nations in a way that builds responsibility? And as a citizen of a country that's now spending billions of dollars on weapons of war, and quite frankly doesn't quite know why it's doing that. I mean, if somebody can tell me why we're spending $300 billion on a supersonic bomber, because nobody can tell me against whom it's directed or for what reason. I just think young people in particular ought to be pushing hard for this kind of thing that you're talking about in a way that isn't just a forum, but begins to have some significance and some serious when it comes to affecting the conduct of countries. And I happen to think that Japan can play a very important role in that because of who you are, your background, and your history. So I would much rather see Japan focusing intensively on that and taking leadership on this, because I don't see leadership at this point in the region of the kind that we're talking about. Hold the rearmament, will you? It costs a lot of money. And once you arm folks, then the folks that have the arms get very nervous when they're not doing something with it. We have the same problem in the United States, looking for an enemy, because otherwise there's no rationale for this kind of thing. But I really think Japan can play a major role, and those of you who are young Japanese, I hope will assert yourselves, because you are in a unique position. People will listen to Japan if it takes leadership on this issue, and obviously the Boston Global Forum would love to work with you and see if we can't be helpful in developing this, what you've called this new architecture, because this is more than just a debating society, folks. I think this is something that needs structure, needs strength, and has the ability over time to help resolve these issues in a way that will bring us together and not separate us.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, all of you, to have cooperated. We are on time, and I'm stepping a little aside from my moderator role, but I will just like to make 3 points regarding what we have been discussing. One, on persistence or territory issue. Second, Japan-US relations. And third, role of young people. One, on persistence, I've been saying that on territory issues, 3 points. One, not to concede. Second, not to be taken off guard. So we have to be very careful. Third, this is important as well, not to provocate from our side. No provocation from our side. Second, Japan-US relations. Japan-US relations is no doubt has been the core of peace and stability in this region. Both sides have to keep it up. Japan is now pursuing collective defense, for that. Second, what we would expect on US is no more something like Kissinger shock. Everything has to be discussed. So from that, US-Japan relations, I think we have to keep 3 principles in mind. One, no surprise. Second, no over-politicization of issues. Third, no taken for granted from each side. Lastly, for young leaders, I think 3 advices: meet, talk, make friends. So thank you very much.